Hi everybody, let me just switch this up for you. Hello everybody and welcome to a special edition of Tuesday Learning Live. I nearly forgot then what I was about to say. Yeah. And today I'm joined by the wonderful Antonia, who's also part of the Black Owned Economy team. So you should be familiar with Antonia because she also hosts some of the Tuesday Learning Lives. But today we've got a special edition, and I'm going to hand you over to Antonia, who's just going to kind of give us a bit of an introduction and tell us what you're going to be in for today. So over to you, Antonia.
Okay, so today we have a Black History Month special. We're going to be looking at the rise of the Black entrepreneur, past, present and future. We've got two special guests on with us today as well. So we have got Dominique from Popp and Kimberley from the Curl Clinic. Both of them have established their mark within the hair industry and found their niche and are doing really well with their respective businesses. So we're going to have a little chat with them a little bit later on. But before that, we're going to have a little bit of a history lesson. So I am going to get my little presentation up and you can all have a look.
So while we're waiting for Antonia just to prepare her presentation and get that ready, what I'll just let you know, guys, is that if you do need to ask any questions, by all means, comment away in the comments. We will come to your questions at the end. But also what we'll also do is we'd love to see your pretty faces and be able to address you by your first name. So if you can, please, by all means, grant StreamYard permission by going to streamyard.com/Facebook. So let's get ready. So while Antonia's just preparing their presentation and getting that ready to rock and roll, let me know when you're ready and I'll add it to.
I have requested permission. Can you see it in full screen?
I can see it. I was just waiting for you so you can put yours, get yours all in present of you. And once you do that,
can you see it all?
Yeah, we can see the full presentation. So I'm just going to place myself on mute because I've got a little toddler in the background. So yes, over to you, Antonia.
Okay, so if we have a little look at Madam C.J. Walker, she was America's first self-made millionaire, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Now, she has established herself within the hair industry at a time when there really wasn't much available for Black women in terms of products and in terms of advice for styling their hair naturally. So Madam C.J. Walker was originally born Sarah Breedlove, and she built up her empire in the late 1800s and early 1900s, despite facing many challenges, both in her personal life and her career. So she was one of 6 children. She was orphaned by the time she was 7 years old, and her other siblings were also sold into slavery. So she was the first one that was born in her family that wasn't born into slavery. She didn't have much of an education, and what she did learn, she learned from church on Sundays. So already from an early start in her life, she faced certain challenges, but she didn't let this stop her from achieving what she wanted to achieve. So her success can be attributed to her determination, her resilience, and her drive to provide something for Black women that was needed but wasn't readily available. So her most famous product is Sarah's, or Madam C.J. Walker's, hair grower, and it's still available to purchase today. So you can actually still get it at Sephora. The creation of which was derived from African-American women suffering from dry scalp and baldness due to harsh chemicals used for washing. They also didn't have much access to hot water and central heating. So washing and actually taking care of the scalp was also difficult. So initially, she was Sarah Breedlove, and she gets the name Madam C.J. Walker from her third husband. So Walker was actually his surname, and that's where she took that from. She really went through a lot of challenges in terms of trying to start her business and get it off the ground. So initially, she did work in a domestic capacity, cleaning and such, and then she went into sales, and she was selling products for another lady that developed hair products. And they actually didn't end up getting along because Sarah or Madam CJ Walker, she decided that she wanted to redevelop this formula. And so her employer was like, no, we're not having that. So she went off and she went on her own and she redeveloped her own formula, her own version of the product, which we now know as Sarah's Wonderful Hair Grower. So along with sales and grooming training, Madam CJ Walker provided Black women with the knowledge and the budget to build their businesses. So she really built her business up off the ground, but she also provided opportunities to other women to be able to sell her product and gain that financial freedom for themselves and their entrepreneurial mindset for themselves and build their own businesses. So she didn't just build her business and become a millionaire and then sort of run away with the money. She reinvested everything that she'd learned and also her finances back into her community to give similar opportunities to other women of colour. So inspired by the model of the National Association of Coloured Women, Walker began organising her sales agents into state and local clubs, creating the National Beauty Culturists and Benevolent Association of Madam CJ Walker Agents, which is thought to be one of the first national gatherings of female entrepreneurs. So it was thought to be one of the first conferences where female entrepreneurs went and spoke about business and entrepreneurship. So next we have 5 lessons that you can learn from Madam CJ Walker. So the first lesson is find your niche. So Madam CJ Walker offered a product to her market that solved a problem. So she created a product that alleviated scalp issues and promoted hair growth. So she was able to sell to women and also men who were directly impacted by these issues, and she created a solution for them. So by identifying the problem and creating a product that solved that solution, that provided that solution, she was able to really establish herself in the market and give people what they actually wanted. Lesson number 2 is have the confidence to sell. So Madam CJ Walker wasn't afraid to put herself in uncomfortable positions in order to sell her products. So not only did she actually start out with a market stall when she wasn't getting the recognition and the revenue that she wanted from that market stall, she went door to door selling and she promoted her product to others that way. And there were knockbacks in the beginning and people weren't really interested and people didn't necessarily believe that her products were going to work in the beginning, but she kept going and she used her sales techniques and she used her ability to be able to persuade others to also get them to believe in her product, and that's how she initially started to grow her empire. Lesson number 3 is collaboration. So success wasn't found on her own. Not only did she have the support of her family, whereby she actually set up her little laboratory within the family home, and the family helped her to manufacture, package, sell, and market her product. She also provided an opportunity for other women to sell and created this network of women. She gave them the freedom and independence that women of that time rarely had, but also that freedom and independence that women of colour rarely had as well. So a business was built by a network providing jobs to over 25,000 women, and the method she employed is still used by businesses today. Lesson number 4 was that she had clear branding. So Madam CJ Walker knew who her customer was exactly, and she ensured that her branding resonated with them. And she was actually encouraged by her husband to have, a more glamorous marketing strategy, to have, like a skinny sort of model type on her advertising and on her campaigns, but she stayed true to her brand, and she wanted to ensure that it appealed to the everyday woman who wanted to feel beautiful without feeling like they needed to conform to a particular type of beauty. She also used her own personal story and her own struggles with her scalp issues and hair growth to sell her products. So she came across very genuine, and she was the face of a lot of her branding because the women that she was trying to sell to were the women who were just like her. And the next lesson is consistency. So Madam CJ Walker didn't give up on her dream. So she had doubts from her family, she had rivalry from the company that she was working at prior to starting her own business, and she also had financial issues in the beginning as well. But she took risks. She reinvested her finances into supporting her dream, and she kept going because she knew that what she had to offer was bigger than any of the hurdles in her way, and she knew there was a market for her product and that she solved a problem for her target audience. So hopefully reading that today, you have been inspired, and hearing about Madam CJ Walker's experiences, you have been inspired to continue and grow with your own businesses. So next we're going to go back to the screen with all of our lovely faces, and Justice is going to introduce Dominique to us, Dominique Lescott from Hair Popp, and also Kimberley Taylor from the Curl Clinic.
Hello, ladies. So I have unmuted everybody. Oh, except for Dom, sorry. Oh, I think, Dom, you there you go. Brilliant. So yes, so we're joined today by two amazing entrepreneurs. So we have the wonderful Kimberley, who's based in Leeds, and she's a co-founder of the Curl Clinic. And we've also got Dominique, based right here in Birmingham, and she is a founder of Hair Popp. So if I can just come to you first, Kimberley, what inspired you to start your own business?
What inspired me was kind of having nowhere to go for myself. I embarked on my own curl journey. I didn't even know I had curly hair until I was about 14, 15. And I quickly realised that there was nowhere for me to go that could help me apart from the internet. And I really struggled with it, and I wanted to provide a space for people who want to wear their natural hair, that there are stylists who understand it, who celebrate it, who not only can help you work with it, can show you how to love it and embrace it to the fullest. And finding that gap in the market, I was like, this must be a thing. And it really didn't seem like it was reachable to me. And I wanted to provide that for others, and it's been incredible ever since.
So, Dom, tell us a bit about yourself and Hair Popp and why you decided to start that business.
Well, thanks for the intro. So I decided to start Hair Popp because I wanted to provide a solution to make it easier and convenient for people to shop for black hair products and accessories online without having to go to the high street hair shop and have a really negative experience that people normally have. So originally I wanted to start a physical store, but then I switched to online just because I'd be able to access a lot more people. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to start Hair Popp, and also just seeing that there were so many Black-owned hair care brands, and really wanted to give them the space to be able to market to their target customers.
Antonia?
Yeah, so with regards to like the companies that you work with, Dominique, how do you get that collaboration? How do you find the companies? How do you get in contact with them? Is there like a specific method? Did you find trouble in the beginning convincing those companies to sort of like work with you?
So in terms of actually finding them, I did a lot of social media research. Sorry about that. So in terms of actually finding them, it was a lot of social media research. So going onto Instagram and finding out what brands were out there, and going to a lot of networking events, a lot of hair and beauty shows. And one of the main stipulations for being on the platform is that anyone who has a product-based business, so they sell shampoo, conditioners, for example, they have to have the cosmetic product safety report. And there's so many people now that are making hair care products at home. We call them, kitchen top brands, where they're getting lots of natural ingredients and they're putting them together, because it's a natural oil or a natural shea butter, but not actually thinking about the safety aspects and whether it is actually safe for people. Think about the environment. It's just like cooking. The environment. Do you have a cat? Just lots of different things. So I find that people who actually invest in those reports, and even people that know what they are, because I've had people that have approached me and said, I've got this natural hair care brand. I really want to be on Hair Popp. And then I say to them, have you got your reports? And they're like, what's that? And I had one brand that said, they asked me what it was. And then before I even answered, they said, you know what, I've just Googled it. And based on what I have Googled, I shouldn't even be trading. So we're definitely trying to set a high standard when it comes to hair care, because now natural hair is quite popular. Anyone thinks that it's just something I can fall into, but because there's so much demand in the market, it's about making it safe and having really quality brands.
Okay, so you really have like a vigorous, I guess, selection process for the brands that you work with.
Yeah, for sure. And at the moment, so brands that aren't necessarily Hair Popp ready, I'm working on doing something for them so that it's not just a case of you're not ready, buy, but actually working to help support them so that they can become Hair Popp ready. And that doesn't mean just to be on my platform, but for any platform, and to be able to do really, really well. And it's about thinking about the whole brand, because even though in essence, we sell shampoos and conditioners, for example, but it's about the branding, it's about the photography, it's about the message, and even how you speak to customers. And customer service is really important for me. One, because I am a Black-owned business supporting other Black-owned businesses, and we'll know that there's this stereotype that Black people don't do very good customer service, and that's definitely something I'm always challenging. So I control the customer service element, which is one of the selling points, and it means that the brands don't have to worry about customer service, but I can also quality assure and make sure that whenever there's an issue, and sometimes there are issues, that it gets rectified properly in an appropriate way where both the brand and the customer are happy.
Yeah, I think that's so important what you said. I think that today, people are so quick to take shortcuts to kind of get their products out there. And I know people get really excited and they get really passionate about their business, but especially in the cosmetology, the hair and beauty industry, it is so, so fundamental to kind of understand all your legal aspects and the legal requirements that take place. Because I know that during lockdown, we've had a massive surge. They say, I can't remember who said it, but research has shown it's kind of what they call an entrepreneur's gold mine. That all of a sudden we've had a massive rise in entrepreneurship. People have time to think about whether or not they still want to have a business. I mean, go to work, but they're starting a business, but don't necessarily understand on the fundamentals. And I've been watching that show on OWN with Tamar Braxton, the hair one, where you've got the hair people who had bad hair experience coming back and confronting the barber or the hairdresser, because some of them they've like burnt out people's hair and stuff because they haven't really understood. I know for yourself, Kimberley, that you've gone abroad, you've actually travelled to America and you've actually trained out there, so you've got a clear USP. Could you share a little bit more about that and what it is that you actually kind of do and why you went?
Yeah, so when I was researching for myself, like, where can I even get a haircut? Because I see these shapes and I see these pages on social media, and I'm like, so can my hair look like that? Or, can this, really be a thing? And I've also got 2 small children. And when I had my first one, there was nowhere that I could nobody to ask. Like, well, I've figured out mine, but now what about hers? It's different to mine. And so I started to research where you could go to either learn about curly hair, and I quickly found that there weren't many places. But I did found a curl salon at the Diva Curl Academy in New York. So I was like, I think I'm going to go. So I kind of upped and went by myself, and it was incredible. And I kind of walked in there and I didn't feel out of place everyone around me had natural hair, whether it be wavy or super tight coils. And I just felt so normal for the first time ever. And I was like, oh no, this is what we need, something like this, somewhere where everyone can go and feel welcomed. Because again, kind of within the hair industry, it's a negative experience when you have natural hair going to the salon, because they either want to tame it or relax it or just do something from other than its natural form, especially when it's curly or natural. So I wanted to educate myself. I knew what I was doing, but I wanted to put the education and academic side behind it and answer those questions as to why. I'd gone from using Johnson's baby lotion in my hair, but that was me knowing I needed a cream, but not really knowing that there were creams out there.
So you
especially
Johnson's
ones
baby
that were
lotion?
Johnson's, the pink one, yeah. Because I knew I needed something, but I couldn't, when I was using things like pink or dark and lovely or soft and free, I was getting spots, it was itchy. I still wasn't getting the results that I was after. And again, there was nowhere for me to ask that information apart from your local kind of beauty supply stores. And I never saw any black or mixed race women behind the counter. I never saw any of those ladies or even men in the shelves, and asking for those opinions, I don't feel like I was even getting credible answers. So I wanted to research and actually get the academic side and put some words to my actions. So I did. I went over and I got trained, and as it stands, I'm the first certified diva curl artist in the UK.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that here and be able to give that option to other people. There's people who, in my opinion, was like, go for blow dries every week, or can keep the braids maintained, or top up their relaxers. And for me, nobody was even there to help me detangle. I didn't even know how to detangle, and I just felt so lost. So I felt the best way to get around that was to educate myself, and I've quickly found that education wasn't readily available for everybody, which is what I kind of aimed to change. Experience and education, being able to provide a positive experience of getting natural hair taken care of, styled, and also the knowledge of it, to be able to educate people as to why they need to do what they need for their hair, or why it acts like this, or why it's not necessarily doing what they're wanting, and how they can achieve their hair goals in the most natural way and celebrate themselves in their natural form, rather than trying to conform to society's expectation of what we should look like.
Mm-hmm. So that was like a really big thing, I guess, both financially and I guess emotionally, to go to New York and spend that money on something that you didn't necessarily know if it was going to work. Did you have any doubts about things, or were there any sort of hurdles that were in your way that you maybe overcame?
Definitely. I mean, at the time I had a small child and was at university in my final year, and I was studying to be a teacher, which for me was always what I seemed to want to do, but I still had a passion for hair. I was still doing my hair, and I'd see somebody, whether it be my sister, my cousin, a friend, I was like, can I do your hair? I've got some stuff, we can work this out. And I was getting asked a lot, so how did you get your hair to be nice? Because it never used to be. And they was like, so what did you do? And I felt like I could talk to hours to anybody about all the options that there were. And I was like, no, this needs to be a real thing. And in terms of financially, yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, but I upped and went. I think the biggest hurdle was when I got there, they said that the class didn't exist, which we ended up working through. I booked a dud course that wasn't a real thing, which kind of coincidentally led to me meeting the founders of the brand and created a relationship that could have only been created by accident. And I think those hurdles have made my journey more special. It's definitely put me into contact with people that I maybe never would have. And it's also kind of made me reflect on why I did it, how I did it, and actually think, you know what, I'm really glad I did that. It was meant to be. And if that's not the world kind of giving me a kind of kick in the face to wake up, then I felt like it did that. And even with the challenges in terms of, like I said, childcare, education, I did my dissertation on the plane. But all those things, again, I think made it what it is. And I'm pretty proud of how it's come along in such a short space of time. And with support from, like I said, people like yourselves who just recognise it, and you see other women, other Black women winning, and it's like, yes, and to have a space to celebrate that, I think has been the biggest achievement for me.
Excellent. Yeah, I think you've done well and you've come a long way.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
You talked about some of the key kind of what you call entrepreneurial traits around sacrifice, seeking opportunity, taking risk, resilience. Just touching on finance, Dominique, did you have to get a lot of startup costs to invest into your business to get you off the ground?
So at the moment, I am still bootstrapping, meaning I'm just generating cash flow and then just putting that back into the business. So I haven't gone for investment. At the moment, the only investment I have had is that I applied for a grant with Coventry University Enterprise, and it was to redesign my website, because the original website I used a template and I designed it myself. And although that was great because I managed to learn like some technical skills, as the business started to grow and I started to get more customers and more brands, I realised that I needed to get a professional to actually help and design something bespoke. So I got someone to be able to do that. But for the most part, it is just a case of trying to get as much sales as possible, get more brands on board, and it can be challenging. The good thing is that I don't own anyone anything, and I own the business. The disadvantage is not being able to move as quickly as I may want to, just because of not necessarily being able to always afford human resource to be able to support the business. But with the business model that I do have, because I don't have a brick and mortar store, and the method that I use is that customers will make a purchase through Popp, but then the actual brands themselves that will send out the orders. So a lot of people call it drop shipping. So it means that my overheads are lower, but the advantage is that the brands get more sales and more engagement, and they get to focus on the business, whereas I support them with marketing and with opportunities. So a couple of months ago, I started doing lockdown hair tutorials because there were loads of Black women that were like, okay, my hair shop is closed, my hair is closed, my mobile stylist can't come. What do I do with this hair that I haven't done myself or haven't seen for a long time? So I did some tutorials, and then it got picked up by BBC. And I could have just done tutorials on my own hair, but I decided to get one of the brand partners involved. So we did the tutorial together, and it's those sorts of opportunities that the brands don't always have the time to respond to or to look for. But because of the way I'm always networking, I'm quite active. It allows that business model allows me to have more time to do the sort of strategy rather than always focusing on the operation.
Brilliant, fantastic. And what about you, Kimberley? How did you kind of start your business financially?
To be honest, I booked my flight with my student loan. I've always worked, but I thought to myself, right, so I can pay for the course, but now I need to get there. And kind of all the other bits in between. I had a bit of money saved from working, but again, it was kind of using cash flow that I was kind of getting at the time to reinvest back into the business. And for me, it's one step at a time. And I feel like I'm still doing that. There's other things that I want to tick off my checklist, but I'm waiting till have I made enough? Can this be covered? If there's another pandemic, can I still cover the rent? So for me, I did it in small increments and kind of gradually grew more each time. So the first time I went, I picked up a small amount of product. The second time it was a bit more and a bit more. And then I felt like, again, I was kind of, whatever I was making, I was putting right back in. And it ended up, like I said, I'm still in that position, But again, to know that my overheads are covered in terms of now that my salon's actually open, I did a lot of the work myself in the salon in terms of making things, building, painting, even down to like the branding. Kind of drew it in biro and had a friend who does graphic design, and I was like, can you help me kind of make this into a kind of a vector file? So all the little things, I've been quite hands-on in terms of myself. So it has been difficult, but again, in a sense, I feel like if I set my mind to something and I know that I want it, I'm happy to put that work in, or to get to where I need to get to without cutting corners, which I think is a big thing in business. A lot of people, because of the financial struggles of being an entrepreneur, they tend to cut corners. And I think the brands that are successful are the ones who really do go for quality, and the ones, like I said, who make sure them tick boxes are covered. Because you could have the best brand in the world, if it's not trademarked, if you've not got your certificates for it, then at the same time you're only as good as what you can legally stand for. And I think what Dominique was saying about, you know, people making sure they've got their certificates and those kind of things make it difficult because it's expensive, not necessarily for the certificates, but in other ways, maybe like to trademark your name, to make sure you've got those kinds of bases covered. It's not always easy, and especially, like I said, for Black women, that help and investment always seems to be us at the bottom of the barrel. So I do think it's something that is difficult, but it's able to get through, even in terms of, like I said, when you look at Madam CJ Walker, how many knockbacks did she get? But those small investments in little increments ended up in her being a millionaire.
Definitely, for sure.
Do you think?
So you mentioned.
Sorry, I think as well with like us as a like Black community, I feel like financial advice and financial information, I feel like that's one of the places where we, I guess, fall at the wayside in terms of education and information. Did you like go through, like, did either of you go through any sort of like financial training, or did you look at any courses, or did you get like advice from somewhere in terms of how to, you know, invest into the business, but also, you know, looking at cash flow and looking at, you know, profit management and that sort of thing?
I think there's a lot of resources out there that you can tap into. So when I started building the business, I was actually abroad. I was in St. Kitts and Nevis at the time. So I was doing a lot of online reading, and I would read books like How to Think and Grow Rich, learning about different strategies, learning about the mindset. I think the biggest thing is actually the mindset. And then when I came back to the UK and back to Birmingham, I remember speaking to somebody, and they mentioned that they were on an incubator, and I didn't even know what an incubator was. And that, you know, all across the world, all across the UK, even across the world, there's lots of startup incubators where you'll be on like a course for a certain period of time. Sometimes it comes with co-working space. You get access to coaches and mentors and networks that help you to grow your business. And part of that is always finance, and just being in the space and being around other people that talk about money. And similar to what Kimberley was saying, in terms of finance, you know, with Black women getting access to it, it's a struggle. And when I joined I've probably done most of the incubators in Birmingham, and I'd be around, you know, middle-class white men, and the number that they were talking about, that's just a dream to me. You know, when they're talking about, you know, I want to make, you know, $1 million in my first year, I'm like, I'm trying to make $1 million in my lifetime. Around those people, it's like you realize just how possible it is, and just how you can think big. And most people that are on these sort of programs as well, they've been in careers, and they've got to a certain point, and they're like, you know what, I can do this better for myself, or I've got, you know, I can't really do anything more. So they have that confidence. You know, some of them have like sort of 80, 100K in their jobs, and then they stop and do it all from the beginning, because they've learned that during their careers. So I think there's a lot of resources, but I think ultimately it's having the mindset, having a money mindset, having a growth mindset is really important, because there will be days where you doubt yourself, there will be days when it feels hard and it doesn't feel like things are going your way or not fast enough. But once you've got the mindset, wow, anything is possible. And I'm always trying to think about asking for things in abundance, the law of attraction. And sometimes just taking time out when I feel a bit overwhelmed, and then coming back and like, I can do this, I've got this. If I want the money, it's out there. I just need to be consistent and ask the right questions and look at the right resources. But I don't come from a financial background, but I think even just from being a young black child and my nan encouraging me to put money on the book. So people that are old enough to know what the book is, it's like, you have to do a book, you have to go to the post office with your cash, then write it down, and when you take it out, you go to the post office to draw it out. But it taught me from a young age to save money, not to spend it all at once. And I think that just, as I've grown up, I've always just tried to make sure I've invested in stocks and shares and savings. And I think that really helps when you've got a business, not to overspend, because it's easy to say, let me take a bank loan out. But if you don't know how you're going to pay that back, or you don't know what you're going to do with it, you don't know what your growth strategy is, then it just becomes a big debt.
Definitely. I think that's the reason why I know that the black community, like we've always kind of been chasing grants, but a lot of people shy away from investment or loan. And it's like what you just said, if you don't have a plan for the money or how you're going to pay it back. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm not getting a loan, so I have to pay it back. Well, obviously you're borrowing somebody else's money. I remember seeing an Instagram video and the guy said, oh, I love other people's money. Do you know what I mean? Because what that allows me to do is it allows me to have a cash injection into my business, but in the same respect, it gives him the fire and the motivation that he has to make this business work because he's going to pay it back. And I think if we don't pay the figures and the finer details, we don't know what's going in and out of our account, and we don't have a good kind of financial picture, it doesn't give you any confidence why you need to take a loan. If you haven't done a cash flow forecast in your business, you're not going to really have a clue of how much money you're actually going to make.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think there's definitely a need to invest in professional services as well. And I think sometimes we see the cost, an accountant cost X, and it puts us off. But actually investing in those professional services really helps to get you further ahead.
When I was first starting, like I said, I'd just graduated from university and I'd always worked. So I'd never been jobless, but I'd also never started a business. So I was in a lot of, I felt like I was in limbo. I was like, well, I don't go and get a job because I don't want one, but I need to start this. So I ended up going to the job centre and asking advice at the job centre. I said, what do I need to do? I'm starting a business. I don't really know where to start. I kind of did all the things that I thought I was meant to do in terms of create a business plan, create a cash flow forecast, and all those kinds of things. And they actually put me onto a program with a company called Pinnacle People, and they're kind of help new businesses with business plans, with kind of like template sheets. And you've got to go to the sessions once a week. And I felt like that was really helpful for me for things that I'd never even thought of. And also to be in a room of people who were kind of not necessarily in the same position as me, but some that were and some that weren't. And being able to have that open conversation that some people had never even thought of a trademark till I'd said it, or I was getting kind of inspiration from them, like, oh, I never thought to do that, or is that a thing? And like I said, you get a mentor, and having somebody who you can kind of send an email to or drop a message to, that's kind of like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Or is there anything I need to think of? And it spans over, I think, 13 weeks. So they want to see from when you come on that 13th week to have you started trading yet. And I feel like that was really helpful for me in terms of it gave me a target time frame, because at that point I didn't have a target time frame. I didn't really know what to do. And that was really helpful in the sense that, I needed weekly targets. I needed to meet those weekly targets, and I had an end goal that I needed to reach. So for me, I started with, like I said, literally through the job centre. and they had that resources to help with that. And at the time, there was like an extra mentor for what they called it, people from the BAME community, and I qualified for that. So I actually got like a personal mentor to help me ask those questions rather than just the group sessions. So that was really good, to be fair.
I think as well, sometimes like when we start a business, we can be really protective of our idea and then be scared to actually go out and seek that support and get that guidance and share our ideas and say, actually, is this going to work? What do I need to do? Am I on the right path? Whereas for you, you found that actually going and getting that support and having that structure around you was beneficial to the progression of your business.
Yeah, definitely. And as well, I got the kind of the side eyes from people as if to say that's not a thing. I was like, well, it is a thing, and I think we should make it a thing. Because again, kind of having that brief conversation with people about, oh, so what are you going to do now you've finished uni? It's like, oh, I'm going to open a curl clinic. Like, what's that? I was like, somewhere you can go for natural hair. They was like, well, that's not going to take off. And I kind of got a lot of those side eyes as if to say, well, that's a wasted market to be in. And I was like, it's really not. If anything, it's the most
underserved,
undervalued market, because the rise of the Black woman, everyone needs to kind of eat the how, to be honest. You need to, be aware, because I think right now, as Black women, as entrepreneurs, I said in 2019, like, there's a lot of women doing things. And then I said, as it progressed, I was like, there's a lot of Black women doing more things. And it was so nice to see the groups like the Black owned economy come out and all the other things that kind of sped with it. I was like, okay, this is what I meant. This is what we needed. And I think the fact that it wasn't there before in, big, bold 2020 is kind of abysmal. But, progress is progress. And I think seeing younger people see older women, especially Black women, having a successful business that goes in all directions is only positive, because you speak to young Black girls now who have seen things like Coco Girl magazine or see Black women doing things. It's inspirational for them, because I felt that way when I see other Black women older than me doing more. I was like, all right, okay. Whereas, like you said, sometimes you go into those fields and those conversations you have with kind of a privileged white man is their figures, and you're like, wait, what? I'm like, oh, okay. And their startups seem so, like, sometimes so easy. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was possible. So I think definitely how it's stemming now is positive, and I'm excited to be a part of it, to be honest.
Do any of you have, so I don't know if Justice went and then she came back. Are you back, Justice?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's like having a toddler in the background that wants to jump up and kind of hold her down at the camera, and then she's asking me questions, and I'm like, am I muting? Am I coming off mute? Your 21st century mompreneur, female entrepreneur, when you've got kids, you just can't get rid of them. So they're just there. So she pops up in the background. But now I was just going to say, because someone mentioned they love the job centre idea. So that's, I think, it used to be called the New Enterprise Allowance. And I think now, if it's through Universal Credit, it's called the Self-Employment Gateway. So schemes like that do exist. So it's really like Dom went through accelerators. Did you do the Natwest Business Accelerator?
Yeah,
Dom?
the Natwest Business Accelerator. I did the innovation for you. No, I can't remember what it's called. Is that Innovation Birmingham? It starts now. E4F it was called. Entrepreneurs for the Future. Yeah, those are the two that I can actually remember. And then there's lots of like incubation sort of space. And I was on Steam House as well. So there's quite a few out there. There's a lot more in London that I find. There's lots of some of them don't come with actual space, but it comes with the network, which I think that's really valuable. And I spend a lot of time going to London. Like, this is probably the longest period of time I haven't actually been to London since everything that's been happening with the pandemic. But I find that during a normal time, I'll be in London once a week at least.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. So the key message really is obviously time and money. We both got them. It's a case of what we want to kind of utilize in terms of, you know, what we've got ready to pass through this child. To tell you, she's something else. But it's right, like Kimberley said, you kind of have to sometimes do things yourself and use your time and learn new skills. If you could say like a message to future entrepreneurs going forward, what would be a key piece of advice you'd give them?
Mine would be don't stop and don't let outside influence tarnish your vision, because if you let that happen, it's never going to be what you want it to be. When you hear people say things like, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or that's not going to work, if you believe it can, then it can. Like I said, even in terms of childcare, I went to New York pregnant and also went back again when she was 5 months to get qualified. And when I got there, they were like, are you seriously coming back with the baby? I'm like, yeah. I was like, well, I'm breastfeeding. Like, what else am I meant to do? So I took her with me at 5 months old to New York, literally to the day. It was today last year that I took her with me. And when I arrived, again, the women that were there were so supportive that I arrived and they had a travel cot for me, like to sit in the lecture theatre and actually have a travel cot at the side of me that made me feel so welcomed, and that all the negative comments that were from people that, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, and or it's not going to happen, kind of went out the window. And the supportive people who were there, you know, really made that happen. So again, trusting in yourself. And I kind of say to people, trust in your own source, because nobody can do what you do. They can do their version, but only you can do what you can do. And if you believe in it to the fullest, then nobody can really tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
Just to add to what you were saying, I would definitely say get a tribe, because you will have the people that are like that silly, you know, just get a job, it's not going to work. But when you surround yourself with a tribe of people that are your cheerleaders, you know, when you're kind of like, I'm not feeling this today, and they're like, okay, take a breather today, and tomorrow we can have a brainstorm session. Those are the people that you need to surround yourself with, because you'll find it even with family. You'll think naturally, oh, my family's going to support me. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they're not going to support you. Sometimes they're not even going to buy from you, and other times they don't even believe in you. Do you know? And equally, you get people that are there for you, that are cheerleading you, and those are the ones that you want to be around. The ones where you have a second day, like, I don't think I can do this anymore, and they're like, well, you know, maybe you should get a job. You don't need those people in your life. You know, you keep them at distance, and you don't go to them when you're having problems like that. You go to a tribe of people that can really support you and be like, what can I do to help? And equally, I did the same. You know, when I have friends, I've got a friend that sometimes will call me and she's like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, let's look at it like this. Let's have a growth mindset. And at the end of that call, my friend will be like, oh my God, that's helped so much. And I've got those people as well. So my biggest piece of advice when you're starting is build that tribe. Be around those people, have a WhatsApp group, accountability group, so that they can hold you accountable. And when you're not feeling it, they can help boost you up. And secondly, I would say, if you can get access to finance, then get access to finance and have a plan for what you want to do with it. Because as much as bootstrapping can be great because you don't earn any money, it can also make things a little bit longer, a bit more difficult. So if you're in a job and you're thinking about giving it up, then think about how much you can save while, you know, is it, I mean, it's hard now, but if it like not going out for lunches and spending £5 a day on lunches, then saving that sort of £20 a month over a certain period, or if you are going to access like a bank loan, already have a plan in place of how you're going to pay it back. If you're going to look for investment, you know, look at those options and see where you can actually have finance, and ask family and friends. I think within our community, I don't know many Black people that have said, I've got capital in my business because I asked family and friends. And I think other communities do that pretty well, especially the white community. They'll be like, my dad had to spare 20 grand. So he gave me 20 grand. And I started my business with that, or I started with 50 grand from my inheritance. But I really think that we probably have too much pride. And if we asked a few different people and we really put a project plan together, we could probably access the money. And I think we don't do that enough. I think sometimes we have businesses where we're just relying on like government grants, and that's not always sustainable as well. It's not always a good opportunity for growth. But if you can get finance, then try and get it, but don't also let it put you off. If you can't access finance, just have a really good financial growth mindset of how you can actually get it. How much sales you need to make, how many of those calls you need to make to be able to get those sales, or to build partnerships. And then my third piece of advice would be partnerships. So there's that saying, the African proverb, if you want to go fast, then go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And it's so important, because even just from my tribe, I don't think I would have got where I am if it wasn't for the support. But also, when you collaborate with people, when you network with people, you can get so much further ahead. Prior to doing this, when Justice was like, we're going to be with Kimberley, and I was like, okay, I haven't heard of her, so I followed you on Instagram. I was like, just a little welcome, we're going to be on the live together, just saying hello. Do you know what I mean? From that, I'm thinking that we can move forward and do something together, because I'm not sure if any of you follow or are subscribed to the Black Ballad newsletter, but they're based down in London, and the founder, Toby, she wrote a newsletter on Sunday, and it was about how to burst the London bubble, because everything seemed, when there's people, especially Black women, that are doing things, it always seems like London. And as I said, I go to London quite frequently, and it's not always by choice. Sometimes it feels like it's by force, because I lived in London, so I have a network there, but I'm from Birmingham. I'm a proud Brummie. And I'm like, I was like, where are my people? Where are the other entrepreneurs? Where are the people that are doing bits, And I think Justice was probably the first person that I really knew in business and was like following and admiring, even before I even started my entrepreneurial journey. And just before I went to St. Kitts and Nevis, I remember calling Justice and being so nervous, like having my notes, what to say during the call. And, Justice really good. Just has some really good advice. So just like having that sort of network really, really helps, and being able to collaborate. Like every time I meet someone, I'm like, I really like what they're doing. I'm like, how can we collaborate? Even if it's just having a Zoom call and introducing one another, because I'm a sort of person, like, I'm wearing this head wrap. Someone asked me where I get the head wrap from. I'm going to say, well, I get it from That's UK.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a t-shirt. Someone asked me, I'm going to say Coach Caribbean, because I just feel like in order for the Black economy to be able to grow and to be able to grow other people, we need to be able to support one another, and it just become normal. As much as it's great having a group where you can go and find Black-owned business, I just want it to be a case where we don't have to think, is there a Black-owned this? And rather it just be, I need a new head wrap, I'm going to go to this company. I need a builder, I'm going to, do you know what I mean? Just for it to be normal, rather than having to be an extra step and an extra thing. And only by collaboration can that really be achieved. And going back to what I was saying about Black Ballad, it was really nice that they acknowledged that even though we're a minority, there's things against us, but even in London, there's a certain privilege. And I feel privileged even to be able to say, I can go to London frequently, because there's some of my brands that don't have the opportunity because they've got kids or they're working as well. But there's definitely room for things to be done outside of the capital. I was saying to someone the other day, like, how come we don't have contacts in Leeds, in Edinburgh, in Kent? Because I get people in those areas that are always like, well, when you come in here, when are you going to do something there? And like, I want to, but I don't just want to rock up in Leeds and they're like, yeah, I'm doing a pop-up and expect everyone to come. And then when no one comes, I'm like, well, these people don't want to spend money. And that's not the case. It's like, well, have I actually connected with anybody in that area? You know, I reached out to Kimberley and said, you know what, can I come to your salon? Like, can I do something there?
Come through. Come through.
You know what I mean? That's how we do it, rather than me just thinking, well, I'm just going to rock up, I'm going to get a nice pretty venue and expect people to leave to just know who I am because I'm Dominique and haircut. Do you know what I mean? So actually using each other's networks, and when collaborating, it has to be a two-way thing. You know, sometimes you'll get people that are like, yeah, I want to collaborate, but it's not I want to collaborate, but I want to use you. You know, I want your Instagram live because you've got more followers than me, or I want you to do this for me, but I haven't got anything to give back. And if I haven't got anything to give back, I would say to the person, well, actually, let's review this. You know, I'll support you right now, but let's review it, because otherwise there'll end up being some sort of resentment. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like, oh, that's putting in the work, or only one person's really gaining. So those are my 3 tips. Get excited, get finance if you can, and have a financial mindset, and collaboration is key.
Fab.
Wow, that's a lot. I think there's so much kind of lessons and stories and advice and things that just got jam-packed. That we've actually reached 9 o'clock already. The time is, I know, the time is flown by. The message we said is, this is beautiful testimony. Well done, Kim at the company. You ladies, you're doing great. Valuable content. Thank you. TV is so important. Congratulations. People are asking about the Natwest and other gateways, so I'll put that details in the chat after. So thank you, ladies, so much. I know Antonia, she's got a few messages for the big black-owned economy and what's coming up next. I know you probably put all your slides away now.
No, I've still got it up.
So yeah, I'm going to share her screen. And I just want to say thank you so much, Kim and Kimberley and Dominique, for coming today. It's been such a pleasure, and we look forward to hearing from you guys soon.
Thank you for having us. It's been great with you all.
So it's back to me and you.
Okay, so I'm just getting it up. Okay, so hope you have all enjoyed this presentation. I hope you've all enjoyed this new format of the way that we've decided to do the Learning Live as well. Next week we don't have a Learning Live, but the week after we do, and it's going to be again around Black History Month, and again still focusing on the rise of the Black entrepreneur. But for the months of November, December, January and February, we still want to find some more businesses that we can support in this sort of format that can come on a Learning Live with us. So November is men's health awareness that we're going to be looking at within the Black-owned economy group. So if any of the businesses that are within the group are in that sector, then get in touch. And if they want to be on the Learning Live like this, it's webinars at blackowned-economy.com. So men's health awareness can be anything to do with physical men's health, but also mental men's health, and also holistic men's health. December, we're looking at Christmas and the festive season. So if anybody has any tips for preparing your business for Christmas and the festive season, or maybe you have a business that only operates within seasonal times and you want to give some tips on how to operate a seasonal business, then, you know, get in touch with regards to that. January, we're going to be looking at making 2021 the year of success. So if you are like a mindset coach or a finance coach or a business coach, or you have some sort of information and guidance that you can give to the group in terms of getting the best out of your business and making your business success, then January is the month focus for that. And then February, we're going to be looking at love and relationships. So if you have a business, maybe you have a matchmaking business, or maybe you have a marriage counseling business, or maybe you want to encourage people to take care of themselves and embrace the self-love a little bit more. We've got February for that. So if you feel like your business fits into any of those categories and you want to join us for a Tuesday Learning Live for any of the months of November, December, January or February, then drop us an email, webinars@blackowned economy.com. Thank you.
So thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. And we're joined back by the lovely Amaraya, making her debut. So yeah, thank you again for joining us today. And we'll see you in a fortnight for a next version of Tuesday Learning Live.